Okay. So hey guys, we're really happy to have you back for this recording and for you to learn a little bit about sustainability with respect to business. As you all already know, ED Entrepreneurs Deck is a student-led initiative that focuses on imparting knowledge on the basics of business and business concepts. I'm hoping we've successfully been able to do that so far, and we will continue to do so with this module. So next slide, you can see that the speakers for today are Vedika, Kashish, Nikita, and myself. Um, these are a couple of subtopics that we will be discussing for the day. Over to Nikita.
Okay, let's begin with understanding the meaning of sustainability. Sustainability simply means meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Sustainability basically presumes that resources are finite and should be used conservatively and wisely with a long-term view. In simple terms, sustainability is about our children and grandchildren and the world that we will leave for them. Next slide, please. Now, what are sustainable businesses? The businesses that frame decisions in terms of environmental, social, and human impact for long term rather than on short term gains, such as next quarter earnings, are called sustainable businesses. They are influenced to consider more aspects than simply the immediate profit or loss that is involved. These businesses are committed to many aspects like zero waste packaging, reduced emissions of harmful gases, lowering energy use, sourcing products from fair trade organizations, and proper disposal of physical waste. Next slide, please. Products prove to be good for the world. We know that using flow not material, and the production is also done with the aim of preventing pollution. Moreover, it improves health of people as they are at pace, knowing that they are not exposing themselves to dangerous elements and chemical caused by pollution. Also, they help in saving energy. Eco-friendly products such as solar panels generate energy from the sun. They serve as an alternative to fossil fuels in producing electricity. They are non-renewable, which means they do not consume materials like coal, gas, or oil. Next slide, please. Over to Adya.
So now that we know a little bit about what sustainable businesses are and what they do, we're going to be discussing a few innovative ideas that were adopted around the world in order to eliminate issues that arise from the depletion of natural resources. Moving to the next slide, we will be discussing the new water technology that was adopted in Singapore in order to eradicate the issue of water crisis. So, since Singapore's independence in 1965, water security has been a prime concern for the city-state. Even though Singapore receives about 2.3 m of rainfall annually, land scarcity and high population density means that there's limited land available for catchment and storage of rainwater. Given such conditions, water reuse forms a critical Water reuse forms a critical component of Singapore's water sustainability strategy. So now we're going to look into Singapore's water reuse strategy with regards to new water. So new water is a high-grade reclaimed water. It's recycled from treated sewage water and is produced using a rigorous three-step purification process involving ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet disinfection. This process is kind of explained a little more in detail on the next slide. Could you move to the next slide? So new water is better as compared to desalination, as new water is more energy efficient and cost efficient to produce because of the lower salt content in treated used water as compared to seawater. So new water can be used both for like direct non-potable use as well as indirect potable use. So when new water is being supplied for direct non-potable use, it's generally supplied to water-intensive industries such as water fabrication plants, power generation, and petrochemical industries, commercial and public buildings, and for air cooling towers. The quality of new water also surpasses WHO and the US Environmental Protection Agency's water standards, therefore making it safe to drink. So here we see that there was a problem of water scarcity, which was eradicated due to an innovative idea of new water that was made commercially viable. Because of this, in today's day and age, 40% of Singapore's population relies on new water, and this percentage is only going to increase with time. Next slide. So no, before we play the video, I'd like to give a little bit of a gist of what we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be discussing what a New Zealand-based beer company called DB Breweries has done. So beach sand has been heavily used in construction for decades, and with the increasing demand, it's causing about 70 to 80% of the beaches in New Zealand to erode. So this project taken up by DB Breweries focuses on decreasing the problem of beach erosion by offering a substitute for sand in construction. This project aims to replace the sand with beer bottle sand, which will not only preserve our beaches, but also prevent the glass bottles from ending up in landfills. This project is helping New Zealand in increasing the recycling rate of glass bottles, and will greatly, influence construction and roading in the future. So we could, looking at the video will give us a little more about what's happening. So through both of these examples that we've discussed, we've looked into how innovative ideas that were commercialized have led to sustainable businesses and so on. So moving on.
So talking about how sustainable businesses have an impact on the environment and businesses, sustainable businesses as is my voice stable?
Yep.
Then why do I get a notification that it's unstable? Is it still stable?
Yeah.
Okay. So talking about the impact that sustainable businesses have in the economy and on the environment, there are various factors that we will look into, and then we'll further also talk about how it is influenced by marketing of the products and some examples of businesses that are sustainable or trying to be sustainable. So how does being sustainable help big companies? It helps them become more efficient. While they also become efficient, they also increase their brand value and reputation, as there is an image in the society regarding the fact that they are considerable about the environment, and also the brand value is affected as people think of them as a brand that looks after the environment or works for the future rather than working for the present. It also helps attract and retain staff, as a brand gives out the image of being there for the long term rather than being in the market for the short term. It strengthens stakeholder relations. I think you all must remember what stakeholders are from the business plan and business 101 session. So as stakeholders also include shareholders, consumers, or potential customers, and government. Being sustainable and helping the environment and working in a way that it is workable even in the future helps the company strengthen the relationships with all kinds of stakeholders. How does it affect the company internally? It helps them reduce their external costs that they have it helps them achieve growth as they're more sustainable, they have more efficient methods of production, and it also provides a platform for innovation, as sustainability includes talking about how you have to produce keeping the future in mind. It involves innovation that the big companies can take place in order to make it more sustainable and futuristic. And here I'm talking about the products or services that the companies give. So how does being sustainable in production helps with the marketing of the service or good? It positions your brand as an active figure in the environmental issue. Today, when everyone talks about climate change, if the brand is sustainable, it position or gives the brand a upper niche in the market for the area around being environmental, or it makes the brand as an active figure who talks about environmental issues. It sustainability also acts as a corporate social responsibility of the business, which later helps the business get more and more reputation and more reach in the market as CSR of the business increases. It also humanizes the brand's message and care towards the society, which is one of the biggest factor in getting consumers or customers, showing that the brand cares about the society. Being sustainable shows this message and depicts this message, and that is how a lot of brands can get good marketing. Sustainability or being sustainable also helps people giving a reason of why they should choose your brand over your competition, because your competition might not be sustainable while you are sustainable, and everyone today is concerned about the environmental and the future of this world, and buying something from a sustainable brand will help more to the world than buying from a non-sustainable brand. So the examples of sustainable uh, businesses are Starbucks. So Starbucks recently said that it will be ditching the use of plastic straws. A lot of you might have seen that it's already started doing that because it's already 2020. So they planned on ditching plastic straws and replacing them with such made with the biodegradable materials such as papers, along with specially designed lids. So they are planning to replace their plastic straws and plastic lids with biodegradable material such as paper, car lids, and straws. Coming to the next brand, Dunkin' Donuts, which also owns a lot of other brands in the food industry, said that they will also eliminate the polystyrene foam cups that they use and rather use double walled paper cups, which will help them remove 19 million pounds of polystyrene waste from the stream annually, which will help save the water that or the oceans we say, which are getting polluted. Next, we have IKEA. So IKEA also introduced that new products that will help in cutting the energy and water use. They're talking about a tap nozzle that reduces water usage by 90% and air cleaning textiles. The companies also introduced new and more sustainable materials into production processes, like the 77% wood in IKEA products comes from sustainable sources rather than coming from in the past when it came from cutting the trees. So now coming to what are the current and future prospects in the industry. So today we have Purnima Jain, founder of Slow. Yeah. So I'll just introduce you and then I'll start with the Q&A. So Purnima Jain is a co-founder of Slow. Slow is a mix of curation and creation. They are into sustainable production of clothing, and they upcycle textile waste into one of a kind piece. So they are simply trying to culminate the either's or ors of sustainability by allowing it to be fancy and mindful at the same time. So today we have Purnima to talk about their brand and how and what are the future prospects in the sustainability industry. So first, let's introduce Purnima with the basic question of what is your business about, Purnima?
So, it's about so it's a mix of vintage clothing and upcycled clothing. So we also curate uh, clothes that are pre-loved, and we also curate textile waste. Since we hail from Surat, there's a lot of textile waste that comes. So we do curate a lot of discarded saris and home like the bed sheets and things There's a lot of sampling waste from factories and mills in the city. So we curate that and then we make one of a kind pieces out of them. So
That's
it's a,
amazing.
yeah.
So how did you come up with this idea, like going into the sustainable world? Like what came into your mind?
Yeah, so my partner and I, we were both classmates, like in our fashion college, and our projects, like our graduation projects, were mostly based on sustainability, and we were inclined towards it, like from a very young age. So, like right after college, we thought of just going for it. So we started it spontaneously, like you would say.
Yeah. So why do you think sustainable fashion is more important than indulging in fast fashion? So for those who don't know what fast fashion is when you buy clothes repetitively rather than reusing your old clothes, or like reusing your old clothes to make new clothes.
No, so I'd like to correct you. Fast fashion is in terms like the brands pulling out a lot of clothes continuously. Like there used to be 2 to 3 seasons, fashion seasons, like spring, summer, and autumn, fall. But now there are like 52 seasons because there every week there's a collection out. Like the Zara's strategy only is to keep a collection for a week and then change so that people indulge in their fashion more. So it basically, mm, I would say it influences customers to consume more, so that also by reducing their prices, they reduce their prices by producing knockoffs and then exploiting the labors. That all of the things they do are mostly outsourced in third world countries. So there's a lot of exploitation that goes into it. So fast fashion isn't good economically also and ecologically.
Right. So what do you think is the current potential or like the situation of the sustainable industry right now? Not considering the COVID world, but
Yeah.
considering the people's knowledge about sustainable fashion and everything.
So like about the climate change, the talks have been in the air like from around 1990, but people weren't paying much attention because there wasn't much media coverage also. So uh, like currently if we see there's a lot of media coverage also, but the issue is of accessibility. Okay, there's only a section of society like us or people who have access to internet. They know a lot about thrifting and vintage clothing, upcycling and all, because they they get they get information on it through net because there is media coverage on that. But a certain section like the middle class or the upper middle class who don't have access to uh, this kind of knowledge, and the people who are above the uh, this age limit like of learning, uh, like about 28 or 30, who have been indulging in fast fashion from like since they have been purchasing clothing. So there has to be some other mediums through which we could communicate sustainable ideas to them and how it is economically, environmentally, and psychologically good for them to invest in whatever they purchase, or per se, like everything that they invest in should be done mindfully.
Like, so they should invest in the long run rather than investing their money in smaller
Yeah.
short run.
So, like, I would like to quote an example. Like, we all know solar energy is free, it's free, but the installation cost is high. So, if we, because we are short sighted, I would say we don't invest in solar energy. Like, the installation cost is high, but we don't see the long term benefits of it because it gets free for us. But the
Right.
first, yeah, we don't
So
take the leap of faith to like turn our mm, choices towards that.
same case with the sustainable industry, you say that
Yes.
people are not willing to take that large leap of faith of investing once rather than investing many times.
So there's a lot of misconception about sustainable clothes being very expensive. But if we see the story behind it, like almost every sustainable brand is transparent about how they make their clothes. So if we see their supply chain, the production takes a lot of effort. And if we're paying someone ethically and we're paying a fair amount of labor to them, it adds up to every piece of clothing. And we're not working on economies of scale. We're not doing large scale production. So there's marketing involved. There's the supply chain is small, and because of that, everyone's getting fair amount. It gets expensive, and we've been conditioned to, you know, not invest, to indulge in fast fashion. Like, uh, a T-shirt is available at a price of a coffee. So yeah.
Yeah, just equate a Zara t-shirt and a Starbucks coffee. They might just charge the same price, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the future in sustainability as an industry, or like not fashion specific, but in a
Yeah.
broad aspect also, what is the future of sustainability?
So sustainability as a term itself is a way of doing things. So there's a lot of industries that do indulge in sustainable practices because it benefits them economically, but they don't market it as a sustainable practice because there's a lot of misconception, and uh, people are very eager to claim that someone's greenwashing, like at this moment. So like brands like H&M, their operations might not be very sustainable, but they are greenwashing by launching a very like mm, capsule collection that is sustainable, but that doesn't cover up the whole the whole manufacturing chaos that they've been making.
Yeah, they also try to use this strategy. I remember, like you can dump your clothes there, like your old clothes there, and they
Yeah.
give you certain percent of discount. But we never heard back of them using those clothes. They were just trying to show that they're trying to become sustainable.
Yeah. So it has become a marketing tactic for a lot of people who are just trying to latch onto it as a trend. But there have been like the industries working. Um, I would like to quote, like in Surat, there are a lot of factories. They use a lot of techniques to use their reuse their water again and again in their factories, and so there are a lot of techniques that make it economical and sustainable, but just it's just that they are not marketing it. And in India, there's a lot of jugaad and frugality. So sustainability is like an innate nature of Indian mindset.
Right. So, do you think the greater awareness about climate change, people's demands might change towards sustainable goods? Like you already mentioned that climate change is talked about, but
Yeah.
we need, like, what kind of crowd do you think we need to attract more to tell them about what sustainability is and how it is important?
Yeah. So I think the narrative has to change a bit, because a lot of sustainable branding that goes around is about investing in luxury, but sustainability, like the people or the segment who aren't being able to invest in sustainable pieces, don't have the bandwidth to invest in sustainable pieces. Like their disposable income is not as high as the brands are asking them to indulge in, or just asking them to spend on. So if suppose I'm looking for a sustainable brand for a normal dress, but it costs 5 to 6K for me to invest in a very normal dress, which is available at a lower price, why would I do that if I come from a middle class family or upper middle class? So there's a lot of communication that need to change, and also brands need to equate their what do you say, value for money. If I'm just catering a normal shirt to them at a very high price, it's not like evidently one would not give into it.
Right, right. Got it. So my next question is, so how does the USP of being a sustainable brand help
Hmm.
Slow as a brand?
So, as being a sustainable brand, as I already said, that it's a way of doing things. It also, like, our customers also have the same objective of switching to a sustainable lifestyle. So there's a synchronization of objectives because we both want the same things. So there are no misconceptions and misunderstandings between the customer and the brand. Also, there's increasing transparency because we are also transparent about how we make our things and the stories behind them. So sustainability, like being a sustainable brand, also adds an emotional quotient, and the retail experience for the customer is memorable. I would say, like, if I'm like shopping from Zara, I won't remember my experience with Zara, but I would remember my experience with getting a custom piece made from a local boutique or something.
Yeah, right. And also, guys, do not forget to mention they also indulge in fair trade practices, which is where they pay the tailors adequately rather than paying or underpaying them like big brands do.
Yeah.
So, coming to the next question, what is your marketing strategy like?
So as for Slow, our vision is to create a wholesome experience. So like it's not limited to our product only, it's limited to the lifestyle. It's not limited, it's attached to the lifestyle around it. So like if we're making fancy clothing, we know who the customer is, so we're trying to cater them a whole sensorial experience of music. So we have a segment called If You Play, wherein we curate playlist for them. And there's a visual experience where we, like, if we are spotting a beautiful thing, if we have a picture of that, we post it saying, if you spot. So people can also add on to their photographs where they find beauty. So there's that. And there are, like, yeah, a wholesome experience of uh, sustainable lifestyle. And we also try to use our platform uh, to
Raise awareness
yeah, to
about
raise
this?
awareness, to introduce other brands in different segments of sustainable plethora of products.
Right. That's great. In fact, I really love that spot your thing marketing strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
So coming to the last question, so how do you make sure that the tailors or other people involved in the production processes do not waste the clothes that you give them or like the material that you give them to upcycle or create the vintage clothing?
So yeah, since the scale is small, and like with all the sustainable brands, since the scale is small and they usually have in-house production or they oversee production whenever it happens. The production happens in small batches. So everything that comes out as waste is used as packaging or is used to make some accessories, and it's almost never wasted. So it's either used innovatively to add on to another piece. So everything is used mostly. So we try to educate our tailors also to reuse stuff. Yeah.
That is amazing. So I am done from my side. I'll ask Adya, Nikita, or Kash. Do you have any questions?
I think their audios are off.
No, I think I learned a lot though. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
thank you, Purnima. It was lovely talking to you and knowing about how sustainability and sustainable fashion is taking an up notch into the market. Hope to see you soon and hope our participants also visit Slow someday because quite a
Yeah.
few are from Surat. Thank you, Purnima.
Thanks, Vedita. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Kash, it's your partner.
Yeah, just put the slide and I'll start. Okay. Okay, I'm starting. It is hard for companies to keep generating profit while trying to be more sustainable, but making the world a better place and making a profit do not have to be mutually exclusive concepts. This is what responsible companies know and have successfully shown, as Vedika spoke about in the previous slides. In the next few slides, I will highlight specific opportunities that companies from 5 key industries can take to advance sustainability goals while making their businesses more profitable and resilient. These opportunities create shared value both for the company and society. We start with food, beverage, and consumer goods. A couple of things they can do, which will help them be more sustainable. For example, they can reduce natural resources and energy used in agriculture and raw material production. They can also reduce waste and emissions by reducing their chemical byproducts. A big alternative to palm oil will also help the amount of trees that are cut down every single year. Taking steps to measure, reduce, and report climate exposure will help the industry gain more knowledge on how to be more sustainable. A lot of what happens in food, beverage, and consumer goods as well is not knowing how to dispose their products as well as their end of product use. Understanding this and reducing food loss and waste throughout the value chain will help them become more sustainable and improve our environment. Then we have healthcare. This includes the society as well as the companies or the businesses that run these healthcare facilities. Increasing the proportion of people attending regular health checks will increase the overall health of the population. Investing in things like telehealth and telecare will reduce patient travel, also reducing carbon dioxide in the environment, as well as improving the quality of care that they receive. They can also develop and implement improved processes to reduce, reuse, and recycle water, raw materials, non-renewable minerals, energy, other inputs, byproducts, hazardous waste, and packaging, as well as building environmentally sensitive hospitals, primary healthcare centers, and production plants with renewable energy sources. Then we have industrial manufacturing. Having more carbon limits on industries will help the factories reduce the amount of chemicals that are released in the environment. Developing more resource efficient machinery will reduce the amount of waste that is created because of the amount of energy that they use. They can also start incorporating innovative technologies such as 3D printing into manufacturing processes. As Purnima said, a lot of companies don't want to take that leap of faith because they aren't ready to invest as much. However, what they do not look at is the long-term use of having these renewable energy as their resources. Next slide, please. Then we have transportation. A huge amount of carbon dioxide that is released comes from the cars and vehicles that we use. Increasing the energy efficiency of these vehicles will reduce the amount of gasoline that we need to run them, as well as replacing all of the hydrofluorocarbons, which is a really damaging chemical which is used to transport food, vaccines, and other pharmaceutical items, will reduce the amount of chemicals that are released into the environment. With energy, natural resources, and chemicals, providing a more affordable or low-cost way of investing into solar energy, such as having a community solar system for different areas, will increase the faith that people have to invest in the project, as well as developing and scaling breakthrough technologies to accelerate the transition to a higher share of renewable energy. All of these things will increase the sustainability of all of the businesses within each key industry. Our upcoming modules are technology and innovation, business law and ethics, COVID-19 and business, and other personal examples. Make sure to check them out as they will be recorded as well. And thank you for attending our module.
Also, do write to us if you want a live module for the personal examples where we can cater to your doubts regarding the past 5 modules that were online. Also, stay tuned with the ED page if you end with your modules today. We are coming back with phase 2 of ED. So do keep a track or stay tuned with ED's Instagram for now. Thank you.